The Synaxarion for the Sunday of Forgiveness. On this day, also known as Cheesefare Sunday, we commemorate the banishment of Adam, the first creature, from the paradise of delight. Our Holy Fathers appointed this commemoration before the beginning of Great Lent to demonstrate how beneficial the medicine of fasting is to human nature, and how shameful are the gluttony and disobedience, by an example of the results of each. They set before us the example of Adam, the first formed man. Skipping over the detailed account of the innumerable things made for him in the world, they give a clear, case-in-point demonstration of how many evils he suffered, and hence introduced into our nature from neglecting to fast for only a short time. Furthermore, they show that the first precept of God given to mankind was the ideal of fasting. By not keeping this precept, but yielding instead to his stomach, or rather to the serpent deceiver by the agency of Eve, Adam not only failed to become God, but he also brought death upon himself and communicated this sickness to the entire human race. In order to remove this first Adam's indulgence, the Lord fasted 40 days, thus obeying the commandment of fasting. This was the origin of the 40-day fast of Great Lent. It was instituted by the holy apostles so that, if by means of Great Lent we keep the fast, unlike Adam who did not, we might again enjoy the incorruptibility that he lost. The purpose of the Holy Fathers was to include in the Triodion a concise account of the deeds wrought by God from the beginning of time to the end. Adam's disobedience and subsequent fall from the delight of paradise are the cause of everything relating to us. In today's commemoration of the fall, the Holy Fathers developed the theme of disobedience so that we may avoid it and strive not to be immoderate in anything. Adam was fashioned by the hand of God on the sixth day. He was honored with a divine image through God's breathing life into him. He at once received the commandment not to eat the forbidden fruit, but transgressed it after living in paradise for all of 6 hours and was consequently banished. The Jewish historian Philo says that Adam spent 100 years in paradise. Others say 7 days or years, because of the dignity of the number 7. It is believed that it was the 6th hour of the day when Adam stretched out his hand and touched the fruit. It was also at the 6th hour on the 6th day that the new Adam, Christ, stretched out his hands on the cross in order to remedy the first Adam's ruin. Theologically, Adam has been created in a state of midway between corruption and incorruption, so that he could obtain whichever of the two he could freely choose. God could have made him sinless, but he wanted the accomplishment to belong to Adam's free choice. Hence, he gave the law that he might eat of all plants except one, meaning perhaps that he could comprehend intellectually the knowledge of God's power, which comes from the contemplation of all things created, but not the knowledge relating to God's essence. In other words, God permitted Adam to ponder and examine attentively with his nous, the intellect or mind, the various elements and different properties of paradise, and hence to glorify God, for this is true delight. Perhaps even to scrutinize his own nature. On the other hand, he was not to seek knowledge concerning God and what he is in essence, or where and how he produced the universe from non-existence. But Adam, leaving the rest aside, sought instead to examine and understand God. And as he was overly curious about the exact essence of God, and being yet imperfect, very simple, and a mere babe in such matters, he fell. Satan, through Eve, having put into his mind fantasies of becoming God. The great and divine Chrysostom says that the tree of disobedience held something of a double meaning. Paradise was on earth, a material environment, and was also both intelligible and perceptible, just as Adam was midway between corruption and incorruption. In other words, paradise was both a geographical place as well as a state of being. In saying this, the saint remains faithful to the scriptural passage without insisting on a literal interpretation. Some say that the tree of disobedience was a fig tree, surmising this from the fact that Adam and Eve used its leaves to cover themselves immediately upon realizing their nakedness. This is why Christ cursed a fig tree for having been the cause of the transgression. Actually, it does have a kind of resemblance to sin. First, it has the sweetness of the fruit, then the coarse texture of its leaves, and finally the stickiness of its milk. Some thinkers imagine that tree to be Adam's marital relations with and knowledge of Eve, but this is not a correct interpretation. In any event, after Adam transgressed, he put on mortal flesh, received the curse, and was banished from paradise. The order was given to guard its gates with a flaming sword. Adam sat opposite beside paradise and wept over his loss of many blessings for neglecting to fast for just a short time, and the entire human race descending from him has shared the same fate. Such was the case until he who fashioned us had mercy on our nature. Thus, to Satan's ruin, he was born of the Holy Virgin and led an exceptionally virtuous life. Since he was God, he indicated the way by fasting and humility, which were the opposite attributes of those of Adam. Thus, artfully outdoing the devil, he who deceived us, he brought our nature back to its former dignity. Therefore, fasting is something beneficial. Adam proved this by doing the opposite. It was for this reason the Holy Fathers placed here today's commemoration of Adam's exile from paradise. O Christ our God, through thine ineffable compassion, make us worthy of the paradise of delight, and have mercy on and save us, for thou alone art the lover of mankind. Amen.